Hello guys, Mountain of Roses. Welcome back to our subject, the contemporary Philippine arts from the regions. And for today or this week's topic is all about the brief history of the Philippine art. So let's have a recap first from the last week's topic of the contemporary and modern art introduction. Okay, so contemporary means happens from the past and exists to the present. While modern, anything that can be created or something new, or any technology that is something new will be considered as modern. So you can call today as a modern, and you can call today as a contemporary, because those two are interchangeably. It's up to you to decide which among the two will be the first, contemporary or the modern. Okay, now let's proceed from the topic, brief history of the Philippine art. So the history of the Philippine art starts from the PreConquest or the PreConquest period. So when we say PreConquest period, it was before the colonization of the Spanish era. So the PreConquest has the two terms, the indigenous and the pre-colonial. So when we say indigenous, which means these are the people that lives here in our country, or the ethnic people that lives here in our country and exists until now. So to mention, the Bagobos tribe, Igoro tribe, Tagbanwa tribe, Marnao tribe, many to mention. Okay, we have a lot of indigenous and ethnic people or ethnic tribes here in our country. So they are our ancestors, and before the arrival of the Spanish colonization, they have been making an art before that period. Okay, so in this lesson, we are going to discover different kinds of evidences that there was an art before the colonization of Spanish. Okay, for example, for that is Manunggul jar. Yes, Manunggul jar is a terracotta. The bulul or ranito, and many kinds of musical instruments, and also the folk dances that we can discuss here in our topic. So again, indigenous people are our ancestors, and they have been making art before the colonization. Next will be the pre-colonial. So in this term, the pre-colonial, it describes as a cultural terms as a pre-colonial. It is a term to use for the general way of life before the colonization. So many visitors from the different countries in Asia went to the Philippines or in our country just to do some trading. So it's what we call the pre-colonial, because it's open, no? There are no boundaries, there are no restrictions. They are open to go here in the country and do some tradings or any kinds of businesses. All right? So when we say colonial, those were the arrival of the Spanish. Okay? Next, before the arrival of Spanish, or before the existence of those tribes, we have this kind of activity. How was the people live without knowing how to do some planting, without cooking, no? How will they survive in that way? So the first primitive activity of the Filipino indigenous people was what we called hunting. Hunting was one of the primitive activity and the most dangerous activities that the Filipino people encountered before. So the Filipino hunters before imitated the movements of the animals and prey. Okay, just to avoid distractions, or just to be safe that those animals, they will caught it without hassle or difficulties. Okay, because when they follow the movements of that animals, the animal or those prey wouldn't be or will get easily captured. Okay, and the sounds that they made, and in the symbol activity alone, it involved ritual, music and dance, theater and yes, even literature. Before they perform hunting activities, they need to perform first what we call ritual. Ritual is like an example, alay, no? It is for them, or they are doing those rituals to provide them or to give them an abundant harvest in terms of hunting. And also it also helps them, or they believes that when they perform those rituals, they can go home safely. Or okay, so it involves also rituals. Then when they perform rituals, there are also music, no? There are also dance and chantings and theater, and even yes, there are different literatures. Okay, so these are the examples of our ethnic tribes or the old Filipino before. All right. So as you notice on the picture, as you notice that there's a horn, no, a skull of some of the animals, and as you notice in the picture, there are dead person who has as being beheaded, no. So the primitive activity hunting is very dangerous for them because there's a possibility that they will die or they will have a food to eat. Okay, so it's very risky. Next is we have also rituals and beliefs in this indigenous rituals in the Philippines. So these are the three famous or the three existing rituals that can be found somewhere in the Philippines. And these are Kanyao or Kanyao from Cordillera. So Kanyao or Kanyao from Cordillera, officiated by a shaman or mumbaki. The Kanyao also involves animal sacrifice, healing to announce the birth of a child, weddings, burial ceremonies, and etc. So every time that they conduct celebrations, no, they need to perform this kind of ritual. Okay, so next is the Kashawing. Okay, so Kashawing in Lake Lanao in Mindanao. Kashawing is a ritual to ensure the abundance of rice or planting rice and harvesting. It's because in their own tribe they believe that if they perform the ritual and perform the dance of Kashawing, they felt ensured that during the days of harvesting they will receive an abundant rice or any kind of resources that they will receive because of that rituals. Okay, next is the Tagbanwa. Okay, the Tagbanwa in Palawan. So they believe that every 13 moon, 3 goddesses descend from the heaven to bless the planting of rice. So that's what they believe for. Okay, the Tagbanwa ritual in Palawan. All right. Next, let's proceed from the music and the dance. So when we say music and dance, the musical instruments and the folk dance in the different areas in the Philippines. So these musical instruments can be found in the different areas in our country. The famous instruments that can be found first is the kudyapi. Next will be the gabang. Oops, that's a kudyapi. Next is a gabang. And next will be agong, followed by kulintang. Okay, I didn't explain the definitions between those instruments because I just want you to remember what are those instruments. We are not or I am not teaching you what are those types of musical instruments. I am showing you what are I am showing you that what are those musical instruments before, no? So those instruments was being created by our ancestors and also the ethnic tribes here in the Philippines. The last is the bamboo flute. All right. So I am just showing you the existence, okay? Next will be the folk dance. Sige. Next will be the pangalay. So of course, pangalay is a kind of it needs an explanation. So pangalay from Hulu-Sulu. Again, pangalay from Sulu Archipelago is a mimetic of a movements of a seabird. So when they perform these dances, you will notice or you will see that their movements are just like predatory seabirds. So aside from that, we have also predatory dance that imitates a seabirds. And these are the Kinabuwa of Mandaya. Next will be the Banog-Banog of Higanon and Bilaan. Next is the Manmanok of Bagobos. And the last is the famous Filipino folk dance, the tinikling. Okay? Next, let's proceed from the what we call carving and sculpting. All right. So our ancestors also have been made some another creative way on carving, no? Not just in traditions, not just in music or musical instruments, not just in dancing, but also in carving and sculpting. First will be the Bulul or Anito from Cordillera or Ifugao tribe. According from them, or according from the book, this is a granary god, and the important role for this is to be a reflection of their own god. Okay, that's what they believe for. Next is the Hagabi. This Hagabi is created by also the Ifugaos or Igorots, and the purpose for this was when they have a pleasant time or when they have a rest, when they need to rest, they will lay here, or they can eat here, so that they will have a pleasant rest. Okay, just to add the kuyaw. Okay. Next will be the Santos or saints. So, as we all know, communities in Laguna and Pampanga are the famous in creating Santos or saints. Here in the Philippines or nowadays in our country, we have a lot of sculpture maker. No, not just in Pampanga and Laguna, but based from the history or based from the book, the Pampanga or Laguna are the famous in creating Santos or saints. Next, we have also the Ukir or Okil in southern Philippines, the Tausug, Samal, and Bajau tribe. So this design was being copied from the mythical creature, the Sarimanok, the Philippine mythical creature, Sarimanok. If you notice on the right side images, the colorful one, first thing or first impression that you can say is it looks like a dragon or a seahorse. But if you try to look at those try to look at those graphs, you can determine that it's a chicken or a Sarimanok version of Ukir or Okil. So as you notice on those this design, no, so it was copied by the Sarimanok mythical creature Sarimanok. Next will be the most prestigious and the most antique part of carving. So here in the Philippines, we have the oldest terracotta jar, and it is called as Manunggol jar. Why it is called as Manunggol jar? Because it was found in Manunggol Cave, Lipon Point, Palawan, during 890 to 710 BC. Imagine, that was BC. Okay, so this jar was very, very, very old, and it is being kept by the National Museum or somewhere in our historical preservations. All right. Next, let's proceed from the textile or weaving. Textile or weaving, we have two: the Pisabit and the Boxer Codex. So Pisabit was the old style of weaving. It decorates, or it has a different types of decorations, a colorful decorations, or a tribal or a native style of weaving, the Pisabit. Next, Boxer Codex. Excuse me. So during the 16th century, we have the two identifications of a Filipino people before. So the image here, the couple here that is wearing a yellow, red, and blue, they are what we call the upper class Tagalog. Okay, and this on the right side, wearing the tattoos, they are called as the Visayan people, or what we call the Pintados, or Islas de los Pintados. Okay, so if these people or these Visayan people or these people who has a tattoo go to Manila or in Luzon, they will be called as Islas de los Pintados. And this one, if they went to Visaya, they will be called an upper class Tagalog. So those are Boxer Codex, which means the identification of every person during 16th century. There's a lot of Boxer Codex, but I just indicated there the specific identification here in the Philippines, the famous upper class Tagalog and the Pintados in the Visayan region. All right. So if you have any questions, you can ask directly during our virtual meeting, and also I provided you a what we call activity in our virtual account. Just check it out, and hopefully that you understand our discussion for this week. And if you forgot to subscribe, please subscribe our channel. So again, you are free to ask, and I think that's all. Have a nice day. I will meet you next week in this virtual discussion. All right. Have a nice day, and thank you very much. Adilente.